inadvertently misread the time. So, Sarah, do you have some thoughts, if you can recollect what they might be, before we go into the book of Isaiah?
Well, in
Proverbs.
terms of, yeah, I mean, Proverbs, I what a great gift, like you'd said. It provides. I don't know how you said it before, and I'd never heard that before, about how you have the seed, the harvest. What did you say? The seed,
the seed, the plant, and the harvest.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is just, I'd never looked at it from that standpoint, but Proverbs really is that book that gives you, if you do this good thing, this is the good thing that's going to come. If you do this bad thing, this is the bad thing that's going to come. And it's such a profound way to challenge the intellect in regards to morality, because it's very clear. It's a very pictorial way of learning the truth, right? And it's very easy for the human person to envision the seed becoming the fruit, becoming the harvest. And to use that and to encapsulate that as the idea with which you approach Proverbs is, well, it's going to change the way that I look at it now. I mean, I've always loved Proverbs because Proverbs and wisdom, those two books have always been so beautiful to me. But I've never seen the kind of the pendulum or the musicality that is present in that we go, if you are this, then you'll go to this. It's like syllogisms, right? And there's kind of a pleasingness to the human mind that can wrap its, if this, then this, right? We can engage that really easily, I think.
I think so, and I think it's a perfect fit for Garden of Graces. So I was just captivated with that
Where did you come across that? Where
Um,
was that?
Believe it or not, it was a Protestant pastor who was expounding on it.
Well, sometimes they see a lot.
They do, because yes. And I thought, when I listened to him, I thought he had a little nugget of gold there, and I wanted to share it. So I agree.
Yeah.
All right, now we're into the book of Isaiah. Which means Yahweh is salvation. It was written around 587 BC during both the divided kingdom. So it's, remember, after Solomon, the north and southern kingdoms. The south occasionally will have a good or less bad king, and the north will have totally bad kings. Only differentiation perhaps in time and wickedness. But nonetheless, both the north and the south will be in exile. And so Isaiah covers that period as well. It's rivaled only by the Psalms in influence over Jewish and Christian thought.
Yeah.
And that is that's a bit of an understatement. So a lot of my study for this came from Bergsma and Petrie's somewhat recent edition, A Catholic Introduction to the Bible. And I was using them for a good bit of this.
Right. Because Isaiah was, he was a prophet for an extremely long period of time.
He was. Yes, he was.
Over 40 years or 50 years. I mean, it's a profound amount of time that he covered.
It is, and over many kings, he would be a prophet too. So that's why that divided kingdom part I emphasized. Some scholars call him the Shakespeare of the Old Testament. Because of his depth of thought and his classical Hebraic writing. Other scholars liken Isaiah in the Old Testament to Paul in the New Testament in influence. It's almost impossible to overstate Isaiah's influence of prophecy, the coming of Messiah, and fulfillment. And we're looking at 587, and these prophecies have to, if you will, sit on itself for 400 plus years.
Yeah.
All right. So there's two major parts to Isaiah, 1 through 39. The Judah, Jerusalem, and Assyria was the oppressor. And then 40 through 66 is during and after the exile to Babylon. So we have oracles of judgment in the first part, straighten up. We don't straighten up. And then we are in the midst of woe because
right. Yes.
right.
Yes.
And I do say we because we do the same things.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And then there's oracles of consolation in the second part, which is the coming Messiah. And this last part, he prophesies under 4 kings of Jerusalem. So that spans a long time period.
Right.
Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. He was killed by the wicked son of Hezekiah, Manasseh, being sawn in half. He writes, of course, in classical Hebraic speech, and some scholars, but by no means it's a universal conclusion, but some suggest that he was in service to kings before his vision, and because of how accustomed he was to court, a bit like Moses before Pharaoh, right? Mm-hmm. That kind of comfort and ability to talk to this reigning monarch who could saw you in half, and was groomed to use persuasive language.
Yeah. It's interesting when you think about, these being the offshoots of Solomon, and the Solomon who was so wise and apparently learned nothing, right? But I was thinking about the whole thing, the people who bring the baby to him, and he threatens to saw it in half. And I think, wow, then your children actually do that to the prophet. I mean, it's really kind of a graphic outpouring of the punishments that we bring upon our own head.
That's correct. So if we are of the opinion that Isaiah had some sort of a court appointment, so if we assume that is his back life, God in a vision, so he will make a complete change from that courtier position of influence to one of prophet, and is by means of a vision. Presumably the vision occurred in the temple, where he understood his own finitude. Sarah commented on, our puny minds can't comprehend the wisdom of God, the person of Christ, or any of these aspects, right? He understood his own finitude, Isaiah did. He offered himself for service in his "Here I am." And Yahweh tells the prophet, this will be his assignment. He tells the prophet to condemn his own people, right? He's going to go and tell them they're all doing really bad things. He's going to have to sit and watch his nation perish because they didn't listen to him telling them that they were doing bad things. He's going to have to watch his kindred taken into exile. And he knew that message was going to bring bitter opposition and persecution to him personally. And yet, because of the impact of his encounter with God, he resolved and placed his reliance on God, and that sustained him into his martyrdom under Manasseh, a wicked Judean king.
Right. It's interesting. I'd never heard it articulated like that, but you really then see him, not only his writings, but you see Isaiah himself as a Christological figure.
Correct.
Like everything that you just said about him, that he was going to be sent to his own people, that he was going to have to tell them that they were bad, that by telling him that they were bad, that an exile was going to befall him, and that because of this exile, that he was going to himself have to be punished. I mean, it's almost, barring the fact that the exile came after Christ's crucifixion, right? It's almost the same story. Like you could have been talking about Christ. And I'd never seen that before. I'd never really conceived of Isaiah is often not a man to us. He's often a book. Like when I think of Isaiah, I don't think of a man. I think of the writings that he has left to us, right? But there really was this human person who had to live this radical otherness, even amongst his own people, and to be rejected by him, to be rejected by his own people, right? You know, it's so hard to imagine the faith that was required of that, and yet, you know, we're the happy recipients of his willingness to bear witness to the truth.
Correct. That's correct. That's a little taste of Isaiah. Now we're going to start to pick up a little bit more in depth each of the 7 antiphons. Till the next time, my friends, Fides Oratio.